And we'll start today on our backs. So as you get down onto your mat, lie down, head resting down the mat, arms down by the sides. And let's bring the knees together, the feet wide. So knees are touching, feet are more toward the outer edges of the mat. And there's an internal hip rotation that's happening. So that's bringing some space to the lower back. And as you close the eyes, decide if you like the arms out to the sides or if you'd rather place the hands on the body, maybe left hand on the heart, right hand on the belly. And you could bounce back and forth a couple of times between the two options to see which one actually feels better right now. And as you find a place of comfort, start to take a deeper breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. 2 more cleansing breaths like that. Deep breath in through the nose. Slow breath out through the mouth. Last one like that. Deep breath in. Lift the belly, lift the chest. Exhale out of the mouth. Keep this sound that you're making. Inhale in through the nose. Same sound with the lips sealed. Exhale back out through the nose. Keep going with this breath. In and out through the nose. Ujjayi breath. Setting your breath rhythm for your practice. This is the one we want to keep coming back to over and over again. Maybe you make sure you have your breath before you transition to the next pose. Heel to the feet closer together so they're more like hip width distance. Hug the right knee in toward the chest and extend the right leg up. Grab onto the back of the right thigh, flexing the foot. So toes down toward the face, heel up toward the sky. But you listen to whatever you have going on in the leg. So some of us might need a bend in that right knee and maybe we feel a better stretch that way. Maybe it's too much for some of us to point the toes down toward the face. So see where you can find a nice way to start your practice without too much force, just a gentle opening. Cross the right ankle on top of the left thigh, coming into thread the needle. Left foot can stay on the mat, or you can bring the legs in, reach through, grab the back of the left thigh. Stay even on the hips, avoiding rocking over to the right side. Left foot comes back down to the mat. If you lifted it, right foot to the mat, hug the left knee in toward the chest. Extend the left leg up, grab onto the back of the left thigh. Find how straight you want the leg to be and how far down you want the toes to point toward the face. Breathe into the backside of the left leg. Left ankle, right thigh. Thread the needle on this side. Always making sure the left foot is flexed to protect that left knee. Right foot comes down to the mat, left foot comes down to the mat. Interlace the fingers back behind the head, rest the head in the hands, keep the elbows wide, Feel that width across the chest. Then hug the belly in, lift the knees up and the feet up. So knees are over the hips and feet are somewhat in line with the knees. Stay looking up. So sometimes when we lift up and come forward for a crunch, we're looking forward and the whole chest is coming forward. See if you can just look up and lift up. So take an inhale right where you are. Exhale, look up, lift up. Inhale back. Exhale up, not forward. Inhale back. Exhale up. Keep the elbows wide, head heavy. Inhale back. Exhale up. Inhale back. This time, exhale up, stay up, extend the left leg out in front of you, twist to the right, coming into bicycles. Come back to center with the knees, twist to the left. Back to center, twist to the right. Back to center, twist to the left on the exhale. Back to center. So you could keep the knees lifted like this. If you want to make it more challenging, legs can extend out in front of you, bend the right knee, twist to the right. So this is harder. If it's too hard, twist to the left, bring the knees back together the way that we started. So we're all finding our own challenge, one that makes sense for us in this moment today. Two more each side. Last cycle. And then bring the knees in toward the chest. Rest the head on the mat. Maybe rock side to side. And you can either roll over to one side to come to seated or grab onto the backs of the thighs and take some rocks going up and down the spine. And if the rocks feel good, do 3, 4 of them, seeing if you can get the whole spine involved. And then you'll eventually all come forward to hands and knees. So tabletop on your mat. We'll just do some cat-cow. On the inhale, reach the heart forward, lift the tail. On the exhale, round the whole spine, chin in toward the chest. Keep going on your own. So if you want to add wrist opening, you can turn the hands around. If you want to add more movement, you can circle the hips, the shoulders. And if you want to stay in one place, you can stay in one spot and just breathe there. Or keep it traditional. One more cycle wherever you are, breath, inhaling forward, exhaling back if you're doing that. Back to a neutral spine. Walk the hands forward ahead of the shoulders. So it's like you're reaching forward on your mat. Tuck the toes, hover the knees away from the mat. So you're trying to get the knees as low as you possibly can without touching the ground. The belly's hugging in toward the lower back when you do that. Now lift the hips up and back, downward facing dog. So in your downward facing dog, you could have the knees bent deeply so you get that space in the spine, especially if the legs are tight. But listen to the legs, tendons, anything you have going on. Maybe the heels don't try to reach down toward the mat if you're feeling any discomfort, especially for this first downward facing dog. It's a big pose. You want to warm up into it. A lot of people enjoy pedaling out the feet or lifting up the heels high and moving the hips side to side. So first downward facing dog is just about making space and lengthen the spine. Then from this downward facing dog, let's walk the hands to the feet at the back of the mat. So coming into a forward fold, back of the mat, clasp opposite elbows in front of you, feet at least hip width distance. You could even go wider if you want to. Nod the head yes a couple of times, and then no a couple of times. Clasp opposite elbows the other way. So bring the other forearm in front. Some of you like to gently sway side to side. That's okay if it doesn't bother your lower back. Yeah, if you have anything going on there, you're better off just holding still. Hands come down outside the feet. On an inhale, come up halfway. Slide the hands up the sides of the calves, reach the heart forward. Then exhale, forward fold. We're doing that 2 more times. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Last one. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. This time, come all the way up on the inhale. Circle the arms, come up to standing. Bring the hands together overhead and down in front of the heart. Reach the arms all the way up. So Urdhva rooted down through the feet and the legs, reaching up through the arms, but try not to take the shoulders with you. So keep those in place. And then bend the left elbow. Grab for that left elbow with the right hand. You're still standing tall. Staying as even as you can in the legs, lean over to the right. So the left hip will go out to the left. That's fine. Just getting into the side body, left shoulder area. Come back through to center, reach the arms all the way up. Bend the right elbow, grab for the right elbow, keep the chest lifted and bring everything over to the left. So it's just the upper body, right hip goes out to the right. Come back through to center, reach the arms up, Urdhva. On the exhale, forward fold. Wide arms on the way down. Let the head and the neck go. Inhale up halfway. Walk the hands forward back to your downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Next inhale, glide forward to plank pose. Stack the shoulders over the wrists, heels of the feet over the balls of the feet. And then as you're looking down at the ground, just look forward a little bit. See if that lengthens the front side of the body. Hips are in, you're in control of the hips. So those outer hips are hugging in toward the midline, inner thighs are engaged, tops of the thighs are lifting up toward the sky. And then shoulders are in place. So they're not going up toward the ears. Chest is wide. Hands are even really strong. They're pressing down into the mat. Fingers are spread. We'll slowly lower ourselves all the way down to the mat. So take your time, hug the elbows in, maybe pause in chaturanga. Once you set yourself all the way down onto the mat, tops of the feet to the mat, reach the arms back behind you. So palms face one another. It's like you're trying to squeeze something between the hands. Feet hip width distance, point the tailbone back, then lift and spread the chest. Keep squeezing the palms together so the arms stay firm. And then exhale, release, make a pillow with the hands. Just rest the forehead down and let the legs go so the ankles can roll out, hips release. We're doing 2 more of those. Lift the head up, press down to the tops of the feet, reach the arms back behind you, keep squeezing the palms together, keep pressing down into the feet, hug the belly in, point the tailbone back, lift and spread the chest. So it's like someone has your wrists and they're pulling them back and you're trying to reach the heart forward at the same time. Back of the neck stays long. Exhale, let that go. Stack the hands, rest the head. Let the toes turn in, ankles roll out. One more, hug those outer ankles in, reach the arms back behind you, lift and spread the chest. If you want to hover the feet an inch or 2 away from the mat, you can. Just keep the legs long, keep reaching back with the arms and forward with the chest. And exhale, let it all go, rest the head down. Hands come to the mat, come up to hands and knees, take child's pose. Big toes together, sit the hips back, forehead down. Hips can be as high as you need them to be if the knees need more space. So don't feel like you need to bring the hips all the way back to the heels if the knees are speaking to you. The knees are fine. Pull those hips back toward the heels. Crawl the fingertips forward. See if you can lift the forearms away from the mat. Down dog. Look forward, tuck the toes underneath you, lift the hips up and back. Bend the knees, look forward, step, walk, bring the feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Circle the arms all the way up to standing. Hands come together overhead, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, hands to the mat. Step back to plank pose. Lower all the way down to the mat slowly, maybe pausing in chaturanga when you get halfway, and then set the body down, tops of the feet down. This time, cobra, hands back by the lower ribs. Lift and spread the chest. Elbows stay bent no matter what. Chest is nice and open. Exhale, release. Back to downward facing dog. So you could take plank or hands and knees to get to downward facing dog. Start to put a bend in the knees. Look forward, step, walk, maybe lightly float. Bring the feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Circle the arms all the way up to standing. Bring the palms together overhead, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold all the way down. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, hands come down to the mat, step back to plank pose, lower down halfway chaturanga, cobra or up dog if you feel ready for it. Exhale back, down dog. Bend the knees, look forward, lightly bring the feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Circle the arms all the way up to standing. Palms come together, down in front of the heart. Last Surya A. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, hands to the mat, step back to plank pose. Lower down on the exhale, chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. Exhale back to down dog. Lift the right leg up and back. So you're coming into a three-legged down dog. Step the right foot all the way through up between the hands. Keep the hands underneath the shoulders. You can even walk them back a little bit if you want to. Straighten the front leg. So coming into a modified pyramid pose. You're high on the ball of the back foot, folding down over this right leg. But we're trying to get into those muscles to lengthen them on the back side of the right leg. So think about reaching the heart forward over those right toes. And then you can let the head and the neck go if you want to. So hands underneath the shoulders makes this a little bit more accessible, especially since we're just starting out. You could walk the hands forward for those of you that are already really open and not feeling anything. That deepens the pose. Then inhale forward to your lunge. Spin that left heel down flat for warrior two. Take your time. Windmill the left arm up. Find your Virabhadrasana 2 facing forward. So feeling all those muscles in both legs wrapping around the bones of the legs. Seeing how much control you can get there. Then straighten the front leg, flip the front palm up, reach up and back, reverse triangle. So getting into that right side body, and you're reaching away from the right foot. Send that right knee straight forward, reverse warrior. So everything stays the same. We're just lunging in that front leg. Windmill the hands down to the mat. Up to you how you want to get back to downward facing dog. You could take a vinyasa or you could just go straight back to downward facing dog. You have 5 breaths. Use them however you want. You could even take child's pose, modify your vinyasas. Left leg reaches up and back. Step the left foot forward, up between the hands. So you're in a runner's lunge. Stay high on the ball of the back foot, hands underneath the shoulders, or maybe they go a little farther back. Straighten the front leg. Reach the heart forward. So you're taking the rounding out of the upper back. And then you can start to come down closer to the leg. But we're focused on opening up the back side of that left leg. So see where you need to put the hands, how long the spine needs to be for that to happen. Inhale forward to your lunge, hands underneath the shoulders. Spin the right heel down flat, either heel to heel or heel to arch. Warrior 2. Good. Playing with the length of your stance. Feeling all the muscles in both legs working evenly. So sometimes we put all the weight in the front leg. Make sure you're still able to drive down through that back leg. Like you're trying to drive the foot down through the earth, and then keep the front leg just as active. Chest is lifting away from the hips. So hips go down, chest lifts up. Then flip the front palm up, straighten the front leg, reach up and back, reverse triangle, getting as long as you can in the whole left side body. Send the left knee straight forward, reverse warrior, still reaching up and back. Windmill the hands down to the mat. Any way you want, back to downward facing dog. Straight there, vinyasa. This is where you make your practice yours. Put a deep bend in the knees, look forward, step, walk, float, feet up between the hands. Just try not to make a sound. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, sit back, arms up. Ukatasana chair pose. Press up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. Inhale, sit back, chair pose, Ukatasana. Forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. And exhale, hands down to the mat, step back to plank pose, vinyasa or skip it on the way to downward facing dog. So there's plenty of vinyasas to choose from. Only take them when they feel good. Skip them all if they don't. So right leg reaches up and back. Walk the hands back to that left foot, coming into standing splits. So listen to the back sides of the legs. Make sure they're open enough for this. You can always keep the hands more forward if you're looking for something more gentle. Blocks underneath the hands is another great way to modify. If you're feeling great in the standing splits, then walk the hands closer to that standing foot. Maybe you even play with grabbing the ankle with one hand or both. Inner right thigh needs to be working to support you in the pose. Hands to the mat if you try to grab the ankle. Right foot steps behind the left foot. So you're crossing at the ankles. Pinky toes sides of the feet are together. Right foot in front. Walk the hands over to the left. So it's just a cross-legged forward fold, adding in the side body by leaning the upper body over to the left. Let the head and the neck go. Keep pulling that right hip back and make sure there's the tiniest little bend in the back knee, the right knee. Then bring the hands back to center. Reach the right leg up and back. So you're back in your standing splits. Keep the legs, walk the hands forward, back to your three-legged down dog. Step the right foot up between the hands. Warrior one. Hop the back foot in, seal the heel, reach the arms forward and up. If warrior one doesn't work in your body, you can do crescent. So that means the back heel's up and it's a high lunge. That's also a good option. Square the hips, square the chest. If you're okay with the back bend, you hug the belly in, heart reaches up, maybe the gaze goes up. Deep lunge in that front leg, back leg is straight. Gaze comes forward, take this to warrior two. So you need to adjust the feet. Right foot comes in a little bit toward the center. Flip the front palm up, straighten the front leg, reach up and back, reverse triangle. So a little different this time. Keep the body, the upper body reaching toward the back of the mat. Turn those right toes in to face the side of the mat. Keep angling them in. Turn the left toes out. Bend that left knee, left forearm, left thigh. Right arm still reaching up and over. So extended side angle facing the back of the mat. Warrior two, just as a transition, straighten the front leg, turn those left toes in, keep angling them in, turn the right toes out, triangle pose facing the top of the mat. So hip shift back, right arm comes down, left arm reaches up, Trichinasana. Reverse warrior, bend that front knee, reach up and back. Next, exhale, windmill the hands down to the mat. Make your way back, downward facing dog. 5 breaths. Okay, other side. Left leg reaches up and back, 3-legged down dog. Start to walk the hands back toward that standing foot. So hands toward the back of the mat. But you adjust your standing splits however you need to. Blocks underneath the hands maybe more forward. Or if you did it on the first side and it feels okay on this side, maybe you play with grabbing the ankle with one hand or both, lifting that left leg from the inner left thigh. Hands to the mat. If you took that option, left foot, the lifted foot steps behind the standing foot, pinky toe sides of the feet together. Walk the hands over to the right this time. Little bend in that back knee. Keep pulling the left hip back. Let the head and the neck go. Nod the head yes and no a couple of times if you need to make that happen. Come back to center with the hands. Lift the left leg up and back to your standing splits, but this time we walk the hands forward to our three-legged down dog. Left foot steps all the way up between the hands. Warrior one, unless that's not working for you, you take crescent. Use the straightness of the back leg to find the bend in the front leg. Square everything forward. Maybe a back bend, starting from the navel reaching up, chest reaching up, maybe the gaze. If the gaze is up, bring it back forward. Transition to warrior two. Left foot comes in a little bit. Maybe you lengthen your stance. Maybe you shorten it. Flip the front palm up, straighten the front leg. Reach up and back with that left arm. So you're already halfway there. Upper body's reaching up and back. Just turn those left toes in to face the side of the mat. Right toes out to face the back of the mat. Bend that right knee, right forearm, right thigh. Keep reaching over with that left arm, opening the chest up toward the sky. Warrior two, it's a quick one. Straighten the front leg, turn those right toes in, left toes out, setting up for Trichinasana triangle pose. Hip shift back, left arm reaches forward. Bring that left arm down, right arm up. Trying to get those hands at 12 and 6 o'clock. Most of us probably can't see ourselves, so it's proprioception. You just have to see where it feels like 12 and 6 o'clock. Reverse warrior, bend the front knee, reach up and back with that left arm. Next exhale, hands come down to the mat and we make our way back to downward facing dog. Being mindful of our movement, if we continue to flow. Bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, Ukatasana chair pose. Take your time setting it up. Get the weight in the heels, hips low, belly in, chest lifts up. Press all the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. Inhale, sit back, Ukatasana. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, hands to the mat. Make your way back any way you want. Back to downward facing dog. Right leg lifts up and back, three-legged down dog. Walk the hands back to the standing foot. Standing splits at the back of the mat. Right foot steps behind the left foot, crossing at the ankles. Walk the hands over to the left. Let the head and the neck go. Pull the right hip back. Little bend in that back knee for those of us that can lock it. Hands back to center. Reach that right leg up and back. And then walk the hands forward back to your three-legged down dog. Right leg up high. Step the right foot all the way through. Warrior one. Open it up. Warrior two. Flip the front palm up, straighten the front leg, reach up and back, starting to get that momentum going toward the back of the mat. Stay here in your reverse triangle. Turn those right toes in, left toes out, forearm to thigh. If you feel like the hips open enough for your extended side angle, you could bring the hand down outside the foot block if you have one. If you're good with forearm to thigh, stay there. Warrior two. Straighten the front leg. Turn the left toes in, right toes out, triangle pose facing the top of the mat. Shift the hips back, keep the front leg straight, left arm up. So try not to lock that front knee. I can lock my front knee if I really want to. So pressing down into the big toe mound of that front foot helps get access to all those muscles. So you don't lock into the joints in the pose, but you use strength to find the pose. Reverse warrior. Bend the front knee, reach up and back with the right arm. Exhale, hands come down to the mat. Make your way back, downward facing dog. 5 breaths. Other side, left leg reaches up and back. Walk the hands back to the standing foot, standing splits. Or maybe thinking of it as a one-legged forward fold. Left foot steps behind the right foot, crossing at the ankles. Hands go over to the right. Pull the left hip back, let the head and the neck go. Hands back to center. Left leg reaches up and back, standing splits. Then walk the hands forward, back to your 3-legged down dog. Left foot steps up between the hands. Warrior one. Warrior two. Reverse triangle. Flip the front palm up, straighten the front leg, reach up and back. Turn the left toes in, right toes out, forearm to thigh or hand outside the foot. Parsvakonasana facing the back of the mat, extended side angle. Keeping that right knee right over the right ankle, not beyond it. Warrior two. Straighten the front leg, turn those right toes in, angle them in a little bit, turn the left toes out. Trichinasana, take your time coming into it. Left arm down, right arm up. Another fun thing to do in your triangle pose is playing with the height of the chest. So sometimes we get hooked on how far down we can reach that left hand. But if you bring the chest up, do you gain more control of all the muscles in the legs? So you're trying to find that balance. Reverse warrior. Left knee goes forward, left arm goes up and back. And next, exhale, hands come down to the mat, make your way back, down dog. From downward facing dog, bend the knees, look forward, step walk, bring the feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Back to chair pose, Ukatasana. All the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. Bring the hands to the hips, and we'll step the left foot back 2/3 of the way. So it's a shorter stance. Square the hips forward. Bring so 3 arm variations to choose from. You can either do reverse fists, so making fists and bringing the hands behind the back. You can clasp opposite elbows. Just remember which forearm's on top if you choose that. Another symmetrical option, reverse prayer. So hands come together, you turn the fingertips to point up and you work the fingertips up the back. This is the deepest variation, so only take that one if your shoulders are feeling really open. So from here, stand strong in the legs, keep the chest lifted, and start to fold forward, not even halfway. So listen to the lower back. As soon as it wants to round, we've gone too far. So you want to keep that arch in the lower back, keep control of the muscles in the legs, chest open. Back of the neck is long, so you can look down and point from the top of the head straight forward, depending on how low the chest is. If you're clasping opposite elbows, make note of which forearm is on top. Release the arm variation, hands come down to the mat, and we just fold down over the legs, coming into full pyramid pose, Parsvottanasana. Let the head and the neck go. Keeping the hands down on the mat, you can come up onto the fingertips to lift yourself up halfway. Let's bring the left hand right underneath the left shoulder. Some of you might want to take this deeper, and I'll give you the option to do that, but start here. You could also take a block if you have one and put that underneath the left hand. That could be really nice today too. Right hand comes to the right hip. Pull that right hip back. So you're scissoring the inner thighs, chest is reaching forward. You're pressing down into that left hand or left fingertips. Keep opening the chest to the right, lengthening the spine. Maybe the right hand stays where it is, pulling that right hip back. We haven't done a lot of twisting today. Or you could reach that right arm up if the shoulder's okay with it. If it feels like it's too much, just keep the right hand on the hip and pulling the hip back. We're going for the twist more than anything else. So maximize that first and then choose your options. Press into both legs. Keep that breath going. You're still with your Ujjayi breath, especially in such a deep pose like this one. Look down at the mat. If you have a block underneath you, set it off to the side. Hands to the mat, little bend in that right knee, step the left foot forward, inhale up halfway, exhale, fold, bend the knees, reach the arms up, chair pose. Should feel so good to find that bend in the knees and the legs. Come all the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart, hands to the hips, right foot steps back this time 2/3 of the way. So back toes at a sharp angle. Square the hips forward. Find that arm variation. So if you clasp opposite elbows, it's the other arm on top, or reverse fist or reverse prayer. If you did something symmetrical, you can do something different this time. All right. Fire up the legs, so stand as tall as you can. Once you feel like you can shrug up the quads, the calves, then start to hinge forward. Listen to the lower back. You want to feel like you can arch the lower back, toning the belly. Chest is nice and open. Don't go more than halfway. Most of us won't even reach halfway because our lower back will want to round before that. And what's nice about just going part of the way is we keep the legs working. They have to support this shape, this part of the pose. Gently release the hands down to the mat. You can always use blocks. Fold down over the legs. Let the head and the neck go. Shavasana, pyramid pose. Heavy in the ball, that front foot, really all four corners of the feet. So try not to be light anywhere. Toes are just resting on the mat. Let's come up halfway. So you're up onto the fingertips. Left hand, left hip. Pull that left hip back. Right hand's right underneath the right shoulder. You could go closer to the foot. You could even grab the ankle or bring the hand outside the foot. Those are really deep variations of this pose. If this feels good, just stay here. And if you want to use a block, grab a block. Pull that left hip back, strengthen the legs, keep reaching the heart forward, and then start to open the chest. Maybe the gaze goes with you to the side. You could play with lifting that left arm up if you really want to, but today might be a good day for just keeping the left hand on the hip. See which one feels better. Go for the twist first, everything else second. So maximizing the length of the spine in your twist. Press down into the legs to lengthen as much as you can out through the crown of the head. Listen to the sound of your breath in and out through the nose. Start to bring the gaze back down to the mat, hands to the mat. Set the block off to the side if you're using it. Little bend in that front knee. Step the right foot forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, sit back, chair pose. From here, bring the hips a little lower, chest a little higher. Hips a little lower, chest a little higher. Keep bringing the hips lower, chest a little higher. Can you set the hips down without using the hands? And then come into boat pose, Navasana. Everyone's favorite way to get into boat pose. I especially love talking while I do that because you can hear my voice bounce as soon as my hips hit the ground. It's not the most flattering feeling. All right, lower down, Ardha Navasana. So you're reaching the hands forward, chest is still open, but maybe you're looking up or you can look forward at the toes. Hold this for 3, 2, 1. Mini Shavasana. Let the head go. Relax the whole body just for a second, feeling all that heat still working its way through. And then start to walk the feet in. So you're setting up for bridge pose. Feet are on the mat, hip width distance apart. You could grab the outer edges of the mat like you're going to rip it apart, or just press into the feet, lift the hips up. If the shoulders feel open enough, you can interlace the fingers underneath you. Either way, you're trying to get the shoulder blades underneath you enough so that you can press the outer upper arms down into the mat. That's what helps you lift and spread the chest. Dig into the heels like you're going to bring them in toward the body, not away from the body. And slowly release. Hips come back down. Rest for a couple of breaths. So try not to hold yourself anywhere. See if you can truly release all the muscles that were just working. And we'll do 2 more rounds. So when you're ready, press into the feet, lift the hips up, find your arm variation that's working for you today. And each one of these is trying to get a little bigger than the one before it. So we're not counter posing, so we can go a little deeper. So see if you can stretch the front side of the body by contracting the back side of the body. And start to release. Hips come back down to the mat. Once they touch down, you let everything go, just rest. Third and final back bend for this practice. Press into the feet, lift the hips up, set to Bandhasana, bridge pose. If you really want to go deeper and you want to bring the hands by the ears and take upward facing bow, that's an option if it feels like it's calling to you. But maybe this is good enough for today. And exhale, start to bring the hips back down to the mat. Same way we started class, knees together, feet wide. So you feel that space in the lower back. This is such a nice way to release all back bends. Keep the feet wide. Just move the knees side to side like windshield wipers, just keeping the feet wide. And go left to right. And then next time the knees, both knees end up over to the left, leave them there. Arms can come out in like a T shape, or you could even cactus the arms if you don't have enough space for that. So you're already in the pose. You can stay like this. If you feel like you want to go a little deeper, you could take the left foot and hook it just above the right knee outside of the thigh. And that certainly makes things deeper. You shouldn't feel anything weird in the lower back. If you do, just unhook the foot. But the right thigh is pushing down and away from you. So you're lengthening that quad. Unhook the foot if you have it. Keep the feet wide. Bring both knees over to the right this time. Maybe you hook the right foot just above the left knee on the thigh. Lengthening that left thigh away from you. And set the right foot back down. Bring the knees back to center, heel toe the feet back to hip width distance. And now you can hug the knees in toward the chest. You can bring the knees out wide, almost like a happy baby, and rock side to side. That should feel pretty good on the back of the hips, lower back area. And then from here, set the feet down, roll over to your right side. Use the hands to bring yourself up to seated. So you'll take an easy cross-legged seat, whichever shin you want to put in front is fine. Maybe shift side to side so you feel like you're even on the sit bones. So two options here. You can bring the hands outside the fingertips outside the hips, and you can either fold forward as option A, or you can lie back onto your back as option B. So that would mean coming down onto the forearms, seeing how, if that feels okay, maybe you do that. And if that's feeling okay, you can come down onto your back and just stay in this shape with the legs. So glutes need to be going down toward the feet. Sometimes when we lie back with this shape, the glutes start to go up toward the shoulders. If that's happening, lift the hips up, manually move the glutes down toward the feet, and then you should have plenty of space in the lower back. Arms down by the sides. So this is too deep of a pose, you skip it. Just stay seated upright or folding forward. Eyes can be closed wherever you are. If you're on your back, bring the forearms down to the mat so you can lift the head and then start to peel yourself away from the mat, coming back up onto the hands. Still leaning back. If you're forward, bring the hands back behind you so you're reclined. Switch the crossing of the legs, bringing the other shin in front, and then come back in on this side. So either going forward or going back. See which one works. If you're going back, you come to the forearms first. And then if that's okay, come all the way back. And you can loosen up the crossing of the legs too. That'll also make it a little bit more gentle. Make sure the glutes are going toward the feet and not toward the shoulders. And you start to settle in here. Eyes closed wherever you are. Still with that Ujjayi breath. So you're still breathing in deeply through the nose, back out through the nose. Sometimes, especially in a flow class, we've been moving, we need the breath. When we get to more stillness, we tend to just let the body go back to breathing on its own. Once that happens, you let the mind wander off your mat and everything falls apart. So come back to your practice. Stay with your breath. You stay with your practice. And it's time to come out wherever you are. Use the elbows to start to lift up onto the forearms. If you're all the way back, one hand at a time, back up to seated. Extend the legs so that you bring the feet out wide, and then you can just move the knees side to side, back to those windshield wipers again to kind of shake that off. And let's come up to seated, legs extended out in front of you. One last forward fold. Reach the arms all the way up. Fold down over the legs. And slowly come back up to seated onto your backs for Shavasana. If you have any props you like to use or something to cover the eyes, grab that. Get yourself comfortable. If you don't have anything, you don't need anything. Just come on down onto your back, arms by the sides, widen the feet a little bit. So make sure they're wider than hip width distance. You don't want to be touching anything that you're not actually using for Shavasana. So if there's a block leaning up against the foot, just kind of move that out of the way. That helps the nervous system start to calm and gets you in the right place for your Shavasana. Take a deeper breath in through the nose. Hold it at the very top. Sip in a little bit more air through the mouth. Exhale, Shavasana. Body goes back to breathing on its own. And you'll start to wiggle the fingers and the toes, getting some movement back into the body. Stretch the arms overhead, getting long on your mat, starting to wake up again. Walk the feet in, bending the legs. Rolling over onto your right side, cradle the head on the arm. Unless you have a pillow, stay on the pillow. Use that left hand to press yourself up to an easy cross-legged seat, your meditation seat. Sitting up tall with the eyes closed. Observing how you feel at the end of your practice. What's changed? Bring the hands together in front of you. Keep that lift of the chest as you bow the head, taking a moment to honor and acknowledge your heart and spirit, as well as everyone around you. Bring the head back up, blink open the eyes. Namaste. Thank you for joining and sharing your practice live or the recorded version. I really appreciate it. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or evening.